Nicolle Flint, you've been an MP, you've worked in political offices, you know how it works. So does Sam Maiden. That's why she was so pointed. I mean, even the Prime Minister's tone in his response was telling.
It's really quite shocking, Peter, to hear the Prime Minister of Australia dodge questions like this, especially from someone like Samantha Maiden, one of our most experienced political journalists. There is absolutely no excuse for the Prime Minister's office not contacting every single family and asking if they would like the Prime Minister to be in attendance at the funerals of these poor, innocent people who have lost their lives in the most horrific manner. I think that is a very basic courtesy. We have seen Susan Lee do that. We've seen Tanya Plibersek do that today with poor, darling little Matilda's funeral. And that is just the most heartbreaking funeral in all of this. They all are. What on earth is the Prime Minister going to do to reassure Australians that we can trust him and his leadership? I don't think there's anything that he can do. There's the old saying, of course, you know, cometh the hour, cometh the man, or I would say the moment came and the man did not prove himself. Peter, this is just, it's shocking. The Prime Minister, as you have said, is weak. I think he's cowardly. He has not demonstrated a shred of leadership, and I agree completely with you that he must go.
So much emotion over the whole week, but that emotion's really turning to anger. And we saw a lot of anger today outside the synagogue at Matilda's funeral. Have a listen.
Jesus was Jewish. You're all going to celebrate Christmas very soon, right? Jesus was a Jew. He would have looked like a rabbi that was killed last week. He looked like that. The whole Christian Judea world celebrates Christmas of a Jewish man, and his apostles were rabbis like these guys.
Look, she's right, Carolee. I made this very point last Christmas to all those people who say the Jews have got no historical links with the land of Israel. And I say to them on the 25th of December, we will celebrate the birth of a Jew some 2,000 plus years ago. But this emotion on display, it's not just that Jewish Australians are angry. They are, and that anger is raw, and that grief is raw. But I think we all feel that way now.
Peter, we do. At times like this, we expect our leaders to actually stand up during a national crisis and lead. John Curtin did it during World War II. Bob Hawke did it during after Tiananmen Square. John Howard with the gun laws after Port Arthur, and he faced a massive backlash from within his own camp as well. But when we see what we have seen with Anthony Albanese, these weasel words, and who wouldn't want the Prime Minister at a relative's funeral, we just know that he has failed the Australian people, and he doesn't know what to do because, quite frankly, he traded Jewish safety for Western Sydney votes. He can't even say that. And I have to say to you, I notice the big things as well as the small things, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen that man put a kippah on his head. I thought the flowers that he took in a plastic wrap when he went there were disgraceful. Not even a box of flowers. No offence to Woolies, Coles or Aldi, but they're like a bunch of Aldi flowers that he did on the way down there. Where's the ribbon? Where's a card? Where is the human touch? Because at the end of the day, he actually doesn't believe in it. And it's absolutely shocking. And, you know, there's nothing good that can come out of this because he's been warned for years by you with your program, by the whole of Sky News Australia, by many, many Jewish organisations that their safety is not there. And this is a day that we never, ever thought would come, where you've got Jewish people just wanting to leave Australia because they don't feel safe. And the Prime Minister needs to take personal responsibility. He can't even verbalise it, and he doesn't deserve to be the Prime Minister, and he should resign.
Let's go to the legislative substantial stuff here. Globalise the intifada. That was one of the things that was put to Tony Burke today. Would that be hate speech? Would that be outlawed? I mentioned overnight in London, people have been arrested for that phrase. Let's have a listen.
Will they capture slogans like "from the river to the sea" and globalise the intifada? We have all seen vision of hate preachers where we are shocked that that is happening in Australia. It is not representative of what people expect in Australia, and it's certainly not representative of the Muslim community in Australia either. There have been repeated checks as to whether they have crossed legal thresholds. They haven't. The thresholds are changing.
Well, Nicolle, you've got legal training. 2 points for me. A lot of these hate preachers are in his own electorate. He can't say that he's shocked about any of that. But two, this excuse that the legislation is going to be really difficult to draft, well, every bit of legislation is. He's got a whole raft of people there in the Office of Parliamentary Drafting. They've got a whole department in the Attorney General's area. Why can't they bring the Parliament back, as Chris Minns has done? If nothing else, it's a show of strength around the world. We will not tolerate this stuff in this country, but they surely can pull this legislation together.
Of course they should recall Parliament immediately, Peter. Look, I know we've got Christmas coming up next week, but they could squeeze it in before Christmas Day or just immediately after the start of the new year. I think the very least that the federal Parliament should be doing is leading our nation in our shared grief and reassuring all Australians that this festering problem will finally be dealt with as it should have been dealt with 2 years ago. And as we know, Sky has led the charge on this. Josh Frydenberg has been relentless. People like Chris Kenny, Gemma Tognini, the Australian. It's not like they didn't know. ASIO has mentioned it. This is precisely the time for action. And they have hundreds and hundreds of in-house lawyers, government attorney general's department lawyers. They've got full access to the private sector, which they don't mind using, for example, to make Linda Reynolds and Fiona Brown's lives completely miserable. So actually show some leadership. But the other problem here, of course, Peter, is Tony Burke. So Albanese needs to go. Tony Burke absolutely needs to go. He cannot remain in this portfolio. As you said at the outset of your show, he is hopelessly compromised. He cannot be allowed to maintain his portfolios because he cannot separate his track record on this issue and the decisions he's made, like the ISIS brides and 3,000 visas for Gazans and letting 11,000 people into a citizenship ceremony. Enough is enough. And this has to be the point at which we see actual change at last.
Nicolle and Carolee, thank you for your time. Thank you for being with me all the way through this year. Both of you have a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you both next year.